I don't know. Well, let me ask this question first. How old are your daughters? What ages are they?
Oh, they are still young. Well, also my youngest is 8, but the rest of them they're teenagers.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Because I have a 12-year-old, and we're starting to have more serious conversations about like what dating is and all that stuff. And when I think about red pill and all this shit that's going on, I hear what Napstar saying about these kids, and they're already having these conversations. We just talked about what to tell the boys, but what do we tell the girls? How do we parent them? And I know that their moms play a huge role in this as well, but as men, what are the things that we should share with them?
So in my experience of dealing with this, right? I I do the same thing with my daughters. I educate them about how the way men are. You know what I'm saying? And I teach them to navigate within that space. You know what I'm saying? So like the same exact way how I was teaching my son, like, hey, these are certain signs you need to look out for us, the characteristics of this woman. I do the same thing with them for us, the characteristics of the men, because let's be real about it. There are men out there or boys out there where they try to lead by their status, where if their status is social status or they have monetary status, whatever the case may be, they'll try to lead with that and try to simp with that. You know what I'm saying? So I do this. I tell like, hey, if a dude immediately trying to shower you with gifts, right? If a dude immediately trying to pedestalize you, it's all right. Immediately to my, oh man, you look good, blah blah blah, and all the stuff there, right? They'll let you know right off the bat that dude is not good for you because he's not trying to get at you for as who you are, for as your character. He just only trying to gain something out of you, which in this particular case, it could be your body or wherever it is. So you need to look out for that dude because that dude is a simp. So that's why I teach my daughters.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's it's interesting. Like we haven't had too many serious conversations about it just yet, but I know that those conversations are right around the corner. Part of it too for me is like modeling healthy behaviors as well. And I think about how the divorce impacts my kids' outlook on relationships and what they expect, how they see me as their father, what expectations they have as their mom. So I take all those things into account. And then also seeing where these boys that are in the environments that my children are in, how are they responding to things? I haven't had the experiences Napstars had where they're talking about red pill stuff openly, but I know they have access to it. I know that these people probably know who Andrew Tate is, and stuff
Wait
of
a
that
minute.
nature. So go for it.
On to Napstar's point, that's why there was such a massive ban
Hmm.
on Andrew Tate because a lot of young boys in schools, boys that are in middle school, they were talking about red pill talking points and they were quoting Andrew Tate and some stuff on Fresh and Fit, but they were talking, these kids were physically talking about it. And it was like, oh man, we can't have this.
Yeah, and to just follow up on that, it was I believe it was a Netflix show that was based on that too, and a lot of kids was watching that next Netflix show where it was dealing with a lot of red pill content. But once again, that's why I was saying earlier that people tend to take the negative out of the red pill content and make it be what it is. You know what I'm saying? So these directors, they took the negative part of the red pill and decided to make a show out of it. Then in return, these kids, these young boys start watching this show and they start gravitating towards it. Or another thing too, which I at the end of the day, I get it. It's entertainment on YouTube. You're trying to get subscribers and stuff, but another part is where they use red pill as entertainment. This is where you look at Andrew Tate, he's cussing out people, or you look at Myron, he's having this castle moment where he's cussing out the women and telling them to get out and different things like that. All of that is what they call entertainment value, but they don't understand that these younger men are looking at this and they're like, wow, and they're championing it like, yeah, this is how the way we're supposed to be. But that's teaching negative stuff about the red pill content. You know what I mean? Like I said, there are things that I agree with and I understand where coming from with it, but the other stuff that they do, I don't agree with it at all. You know, it can be very, very damaging, especially to the younger men.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Because when we look at specific types of ages, easily they can be so molded into these ideas. And if you look at it, where I sort of teach, these kids have already gotten themselves into some sort of trouble where they're disturbed a little bit. And it just tells you how much they're molded into things outside in society, you know, getting involved in the crime, let alone on top of that, they're learning about these other behaviors that are heavily influencing now to the rise of social media. So it's like, you know, we can easily, you know, talk to a juvenile or a young person about, hey, these are X, Y, and Z, you know, about life, versus a 30, 40-year-old man who's watching, you know, these fresh and fit clips and it's like, oh yeah, they're right. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, and then what Lionel was mentioning, it's sort of like this kind of back and forth battle where, you know, these kids are, even if they don't even have access to it, they're still talking about it in school because others do. And they're like, what is that? And so they could be giving them the wrong idea of just that negative portion that you're talking about, Urban. You know, this is how you're supposed to. He said something about, you know, A, B, and C about women. That's how you're supposed to treat them. Like, oh, yeah. And they roll with it. And I think I would argue that there is, and not just maybe this is just a rant, but maybe the red pill sort of diverges into a little bit of how men end up getting into these crimes like domestic violence, you know, all these other things, and it's sparked from these conversations when they were younger. So just throwing that out there a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your point on that. I really do, and that's why these said young men we're talking about right now, they're entering into the more what we call incels, or what's that line, a blue pill, where they end up becoming incels.
No, it definitely would be simply just incels. I wouldn't call it blue pill yet.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree with your point on that. Now, but that's the reason why we have to hold our own self accountable as grown, competent adults to educate and teach the young men the importance of this. You know what I'm saying? Now, once again, I made this point earlier about feminism. You know, there are things about feminism that I agree with. There are other things about feminism that I absolutely do not agree with, period. But at the same time, it is up to these women to educate these younger women the importance of it. You know, it's okay to educate them about the importance of looking out for the signs of these dudes out here who be pedestalizing them, simping for them to try to get something out of them. You know, I believe that's very important for them to educate them that. I believe it's very important for women to have a right to do the things that they're doing right now, which is to vote and to be part of the workforce system, because that's very detrimental to our current culture and society. But I don't agree with when they be you know, going to the deep end and calling every dude's dusties and every dude, you know, trash bag bandits, and talking about they want to unalive every man on the planet so it'll be nothing but women there, you know. So I don't agree with that point, and they shouldn't be teaching that. But yet it's still these same type of little girls, they be watching Cynthia G, they be watching, you know, these other content creators that encourage them to be childless or child free and stuff, right? And encourage them like, hey, this is how the way you should be, and they're looking at it and they're literally doing it, bro.
So I gotta say
that way.